Hey, it's Lindsay, and today I want to show you how I'm using a Hobonichi Weeks Mega as my main planner and hybrid bullet journal. This is the sneaker edition for 2023 in the blue color, and if you've not seen a sneaker before, this is my first time using one. The cover is sort of this like really thin cardstock. It's incredibly flexible, and I'm already a bit nervous on how it's going to hold up over the course of a year. But one of the major pros I really like about the sneaker edition is when you open up to say like a weekly spread, you don't see any of the cover color, if that makes sense. So if you're looking at one of these more like traditional cardstock covers, when you open it up, you can see the blue edges all the way around the spread. Not that big of a deal, but it is kind of nice to feel like I have a completely blank canvas, because I will let that color influence how I set up my weeklies, for example. In the front of my planner, I use this as sort of an inbox. I have like a vision board in here right now, a Polaroid. This clear adhesive pocket came with the planner. I've got a habit tracker in here and some stickers. I like to keep sticky notes up here for quick, just like rough draft notes of things or throwaway lists, and I cycle through a variety of them. These fancy sticky notes are by Midori, and I got them from JetPens. The year at a glance spread I use to track a couple of things. I use a pencil to underline my paydays and my husband's paydays throughout the entire year. That way at a glance I can quickly tell if something is a 4 or a 5 paycheck month when we are budgeting. I also track my travel on here, and I use 2 different mile liners. So this green denotes that I was on like a personal vacation, and then the blue indicates that I've been traveling for work, and I fill this out after the trip occurs just to have a quick synopsis on where I was throughout the year. This is a habit tracker. I will put the information down below, but I track my cycle on here, but underneath it is last year at a glance, and then you get next year at a glance as well. I printed this on Tomoe River paper and then just used like a tape runner to put it in. I use this spread as a habit tracker as well. I track my workouts on here, and then I use a mild liner, that same blue that I was using before, to highlight if I close my move ring on my Apple Watch. As you can tell, I'm not very consistent. And then I keep track of my average weight up top, above. Next, you have the monthly spreads. One thing I like about the Hobonichi planners is that they are a Monday start, and that works better for me. I use my monthly calendars as my future log, so any future event, task, or appointment I write directly in on the monthly, and then if something gets canceled, I just strike through it. My brain unfortunately does not work well with digital planning, so my Google Calendar is completely empty. It all lives in a paper planner. I also use my monthlies as sort of like a quick month at a glance at the end of the month, so I will add little notes and stuff day by day as I go, so that this is a nice like at a glance bird's eye view of what happened throughout a calendar month. I use this sidebar as a running to-do list throughout the month, and this is sort of curated as both future tasks. So if I think of something I need to do 2 months from now, I'll flip to that monthly and add it in. And within the month, if there's just things that kind of come up, I will add to that list as well. All the stickers on my monthlies are from my Patreon designs, except for these little icon stickers, which I get from Brandy.plans. January, February, March, and then you can see kind of what the future pre-planning looks like as well. All right, so after the monthlies, we move into the weeklies, and I'm just gonna start at a certain point. So one thing I guess that I probably need to mention is that this notebook is backdated, meaning I've not been using this since December or January. This will be my 3rd week in this notebook by the time this video goes live. So I pulled from my Bunnies edition standard size Hobonichi weeks and my passport bullet journal, and I copied the information between those two planners into this one book. One of the main motivators of moving into this planner is that I wanted to have everything in one book again at the end of the year, and I recognized that I absolutely needed a daily, and I wanted my overall system to be a bit more streamlined and take up a little less room on my shelf at the end of the year, and the Mega is probably the best option that I currently have to do that. So it was a bit of a labor of love to get this backfilled, and there is still more weeklies that I need to transfer over, so it's by no means complete, but it's something I'm slowly chipping away at. So I'll flip through the weeklies that I have backfilled, and then I'll talk about how I use these particular spreads. They are a Monday start, week on 2-page horizontal layout. If you've not used a Hobonichi weeks before, and I guess now would be a good time to point out that I have the Japanese edition. When I ordered this Mega in September of 2022, I thought what I was going to want was the Japanese edition. Now that I've experienced the English version, I think I would have preferred to have an English one, but this is what I have and what I'm going to be using. The general anatomy of my weekly spreads has not changed all that much. It's more or less how I've used them for the last couple of years. The left-hand page is for date-specific tasks, events, and notes. And I do draw a couple lines in. I think it's gonna be really hard to see, but I draw in 2 lines with pencil. I choose to use pencil because it can be erased, and also it sort of disappears into the page, which I quite like. And I use that pencil mark to line up my bullets for my task key. And unfortunately, I'm quite an aesthetics-driven person, as much as I would love to say otherwise. So it just makes things look a little bit neater. On this right-hand side of the column, though, I take more creative liberties, and I just sort of fill in the blank space with whatever. On the right-hand page, I have 2 sections essentially. This intersection, it corresponds with each of the dailies, and this is where I do 2 highlights of the day or any excess notes that maybe didn't quite fit on the left-hand page. And on the right-hand portion, I do a habit tracker at the top, a running to-do list below that, and then I've just been kind of filling the space with a variety of different things. This week I tracked what I was reading, and that was inspired by Megan Rhiannon, and then I'm tracking what I'm using because, as you can tell, I'm an avid planner hopper. I've been coloring in most of my doodles with watercolor this year, and I can list the set that I use down below. They're by Winsor & Newton. All of my writing is done with a Pilot Vanishing Point, an extra fine inked with the Atramentis Archive ink. This is a fountain pen, and if you're new to Hobonichi, I actually recommend using a ballpoint pen. The Uni Jetstream is what I used for 2 or 3 years before I got into fountain pens, but my current backup pen is actually this guy. This is the Sakura Pigma Micron in 005. It's a very, very fine line. It is a felt tip fine liner, but the reason I like this one right now over the Jetstream is that the ink looks more similar to my Pilot Vanishing Point, and I'm the type of person that just goes crazy if I switch ink in the middle of a week, I can tell, and I obsess over it and I hate it. And yeah, anyway, so that one looks the most similar to the Atramentis Archive ink when it dries, and so I use that as my backup pen currently. All of the events and my doodles, I use a Tombow Fudenosuke hard tip brush pen, and this is just sort of my go-to. You can watercolor over it, you can highlight it with a Tombow, and at this point it's the only thing I know how to draw with, so it's what I use. This takes me to my current week. I've recently started playing Pokemon Violet, so I printed off my character sheet, I guess, and put that in as well. And the pattern repeats, so a bunch of blank weeklies after that. Okay, so let's get into my notes pages. One thing to note about the Hobonichi weeks, if you've not used one before, is they start in December of the previous year and go through December of the current year. So I moved into this, or I would have rather, I would typically move into a Hobonichi that first week that I can, which would have been December of 2022. So I will move into a new Hobonichi December of 2023, assuming I stick with it. So I took advantage of this last spread in December, and I've set this up to be my index. I kind of say that if you're a bullet journal, you either index or you don't, and I index. Using a Hobonichi actually is what taught me to index, because the paper is Tomoe River paper and it's quite thin. And if I'm looking for something, it's really easy for me to skip a page without realizing it. So having an index really helps me in for the next year. So 2024, if I need to find something in here again, the index is the first place that I'm going to look. Okay, so let's get into my habit trackers and collections. So as I mentioned, I do bullet journal in the notes pages of the Mega, and that is kind of the reason why I moved back into the Mega, because a huge portion of my bullet journal practice is I need a daily, and I tried to use a standard size weeks this year, but dailies they're just necessary for me at this point. So here I am back again. All right, Adulting Log is the first main collection that I have. This is just a habit tracker of things that are sort of irregular tasks. So I have the first letter of the month up top, running list of tasks, and then the date I complete that task, I write the date number in the corresponding column. So this is things like, when did I get an oil change for my car, or when did I replace my toothbrush head, things that I don't need to do every single week or even every single month, but I will completely lose sight of if I don't write it down. I have a log to note when we invest money. I have a log to rate completed books and fan fictions. A log for the date nights that my husband and I take. It's just fun to kind of reflect on those. And a log for when I talk to my best friend, because we talk very sporadically. This is a gift ideas and wish list tracker. So there's a little star in this first column. So ideas underneath here correspond to wish list items for me. And then I've got 3 categories for gift ideas for friends and family members. This is a Lindsay Scribbles check register. This is another check register where I keep track of money I move between accounts. A running shopping list for Sam's Club, basically. I have a check register for my low buy. So this is broken down into the date, a description of the purchase, money in or money out, my low buy balance, and then I've got 2 columns here that I use as a package tracker. So one X for something that shipped and another X once I get something. And then same exact layout for my personal spend. So this would be like I got new clothing or things like that kind of come out of my own fun money budget. And then on sticky notes, I keep track of purchases for the household that have packages. So if we bought new light bulbs and they're being shipped, but that's not my personal fun money, I just put that on a sticky note to kind of keep track of those. These sticky notes are from Daiso. This one is from Midori / JetPens again. Measure myself once a month. This is my Patreon tracker, so just making sure I do all the perks that I've committed to, along with the video ideas list. This sticky note is from Daiso. If you have any video ideas or suggestions for me, I'd love that if you leave me a comment below. Next is Stardew Valley info, and I didn't copy over my current log because I think I'm gonna start over a new save file. We'll see, but these are images that I found on Reddit. So if you search Community Center Stardew Valley Reddit Community Center bundle and look at Google Images, you'll find this. These are Stardew Valley Reddit last day to plant Google Images, and then Stardew Valley Reddit gift guide Google Images. You'll find these, and I just found the images. I created a canvas in Canva that's about Hobonichi week size, and then moved the images in there and then printed them out. Okay, so now we get to the fun part, in my opinion, and that is my daily logs. Some things to note: I copied all my daily logs from my passport size bullet journal and I replicated them in the back here, and oh my gosh, I am so happy. My hand still hurts when I think about it, but oh gosh, it's just so much better, and it's crazy to me how much just like this extra 1.5 inches of paper saves on space compared to my passport bullet journal. The entire Q1 insert was like 120 pages in my passport size, and I got all of that in here up to like page 50 with all the habit trackers. It's just crazy. So some of this stuff again is relatively incomplete, and I really focused on just like doing like the line art for my doodles and transferring the key information and like some of this reference stuff that I would have indexed. So it was all in here and at my fingertips. When I moved into this, I actually focused on starting with my dailies so that I could get up to my current date. And then I've been slowly working on like going back and adding watercoloring or filling in these review sticky notes. These are from Daiso, by the way. And it kind of is keeping the project mentality alive. The whole backdating this feels like a project, and that really adds to the excitement of being in this notebook. So I'm sort of like taking my time adding the watercolor and things like that, because I think once it feels finished, I'm gonna feel like liable to hop, but at the same time, I've not felt this organized for the entirety of 2023. I think just I've used this planner for, this will be my 3rd mega, and it just is like, oh, I can breathe. I guess my 3rd mega I've used as a planner. I think I've used a Hobonichi Weeks mega since 2018, but I've always used them as journals before 2021. Yeah. This is a panel from a webtoon that I'm reading, and I printed off using my Poooli Printer. My birthday week. Again, all the coloring I've been doing with watercolor so far this year. And same 2 pens I use for all of the writing, and all the doodling is with that brush pen, like I mentioned. The sticker here is from the Coffee Monsters Co. Random habit tracker. And this kind of brings me to my current dailies. I'm on page 59. This is the Pokemon type chart. I've just restarted playing Pokemon Violet, as I mentioned, so I just found Google image, printed off on some printer paper, and I've washi it in for now. I don't know if I'm gonna make like a dedicated spread or if I'm just gonna have access to this. I have yet to figure out. Some quick like rundown on how I use the different spreads. So most information starts on my monthly. So if I schedule an appointment, I'll put it directly on my monthly. If I think of something that I need to do next month, I will add it to next month's running to-do list. Once I get to a month, I then translate all of these events and tasks into my weekly spreads, and I sort of set them all up at the beginning of the month so I can just add to them real time. And then day by day, I will reference my weekly to set up my daily log, and I typically will set up this running to-do list the night before. And what I'll do, so this is 3/23 Thursday, so I would look here and say, okay, here's what I have to get done this day. Is there anything else that I can grab from my running to-do list? I will rewrite those tasks, and then I do a bit of like a pensive or brain dump to say, okay, what else is on my mind that I need to get done? And then I spend the majority of my day here. Throughout the day, I'll work on checking these tasks off. I'll add in notes, highlights, or maybe I'll doodle something to fill up this free space. And then in the evenings, I'll go back to my weekly and essentially true it up. So check off anything that I got done, journal in any of the free space, or translate over tasks or doodle something if I feel like filling it up in a different way. And then throughout the day, if I think of something that I need to do, I'll add it to my to-do list, or if I'm like, oh, I need to do that tomorrow, I will put it directly on Friday's section. And this helps me a ton with my anxiety. I have really bad anxiety. So if I think of something I need to do tomorrow and I'm not ready to set up tomorrow's daily log, I can get stuck on it. Like my brain will hyperfixate on this task that I cannot do today. Like it might be prepping for an appointment, or like if I have a doctor's appointment and I know I'm gonna get a receipt, my brain will like fixate on like I have to submit that receipt to the HSA file on our Google Drive. So it's like I don't have the receipt yet, but my brain will just like obsess over it. So if I can write down on Friday, like submit that receipt, it sort of helps me let go of that. So weeklies are really important for me to manage that anxiety and have like a good at a glance view of my week. And then I'll do the same thing with like future tasks as well. So my brain will hyperfixate on I have to clean this thing out in April, or I have to submit this thing in April, but there's no way I can do it in March. I can go back to April's monthly and put that task in the to-do list so I know I haven't lost it, and I rely upon my like daily, weekly, monthly planner routines to make sure that I'm combing through those tasks and they eventually make it onto the correct daily. Okay, last things to mention before I wrap this video up. My tabs are by Midori. They're called Midori index clips and they're reusable. I'm using the silver ones primarily. I get mine from JetPens. They will kind of chew up your page and they can slide around a little bit, but I find them to be like pretty stable, and this is my 3rd year using them. And this cover that I'm in is by Hobonichi. This is the Hobonichi Knot cover, N-O-T-T-E. One of the other bonuses of using the sneaker, because it's just a little bit shorter with the flush cover, I actually find this closes and zips just a little bit nicer even than when I was using my bunny weeks. So just something to keep in mind. But I think that covers everything. I'm hoping that this is like the planner for me for the rest of the year. If you guys have any questions, let me know down below. If you have made it this long, thank you so much for being here, and I will talk to you soon.